ask this from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. It's very important to have this patience, especially as a leader, as a guide, as an alim, as a father or mother. This patience is very much needed. Sometimes you run out of patience, and this is very dangerous. So you do 90% of the job, but then at the wrong time you get angry, everything is damaged, everything is destroyed. You have to be very patient. He asked Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to make his affairs easy for him. He asked Allah to remove the blockage from his tongue so that he can speak nicely and softly. And this is also very important. I say sometimes to the brothers and sisters who want to do tabligh, especially in other languages, I say, look at Prophet Musa. He was brought up in Egypt, and not only in a very, for example, poor or, for example, unknown family. He was brought up in the court and palace of Pharaoh. For sure, he had the best in everything, the best of education, the best of training, the best of training him about protocols, how as a person who is adopted by Pharaoh to be trained so that you can undertake big responsibilities like a prince. He had all this experience. He was perfect in their language because from childhood, even when was a newborn baby, was brought up in that context, so he mastered the language. Still he is worried. Am I able to deliver the message of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in the way that they can understand? He was not sure. He said, وَحْلُلْ عُقْدَةً مِّن لِسَانِي يَفْقَهُ قَوْلِي. Some people think that it was because of a physical problem on the tongue of Musa. I don't think it's that. Maybe that is little part of it. Because even if you cannot speak nicely and eloquently, doesn't stop people understanding you. Maybe people don't like listening to you. They get bored, but they can understand you. His concern was not the beauty or eloquence. His concern was that, am I able to deliver the message in the way that يَفْقَهُ قَوْلِي? Can they understand me? So when someone like Musa, who has all this background and knowledge of the language and the culture, is worried, what about us, that when we are 20, 30, or maybe even more, we start learning another language. Whether we master it or not is a question. Whether we understand the culture or not is another question. Whether we understand the message that we want to deliver, this is another question. And it's surprising that we don't have any worry. Musa was worried, but we are so confident that we are ready to go to every meeting and speak on behalf of Islam without hesitation. This is, I don't know how much, reasonable. In any case, so he said all this, and then he said, وَاجْعَلْ لِي وَزِيرًا مِّنْ أَهْلِي. I also request you to give me a helper who is from me, Harun akhi. And then finally he said, كَيْ نُسَبِّحَكَ كَثِيرًا وَنَذْكُرَكَ كَثِيرًا. This is, in my understanding, unbelievable. This shows how deep was Musa in understanding his relation with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and how was he able to realize that everything that he is going to do is an act of tasbih. He is going to talk to Pharaoh. He is going to take Bani Israel to cross the Nile, all those years going around in desert. Everything for Musa was tasbih. And he wanted patience, he wanted helper, he wanted removal of the blockage for doing more of tasbih. Not just doing tasbih, he wanted to do more tasbih. And perhaps this is also referring to what Allah said, La taniya fi dhikri. This is beautiful. In any case, according to the Quran, tasbih is the best way. This is my idea. Please think about it and share with me your ideas later. I think tasbih is the best encounter that anyone can have with God. And when I say anyone, it includes God himself. Because even Allah himself does tasbih. Subhanalladhi asra ba'abdihi laylan. Who is doing this tasbih? This is Allah himself. So even Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala does tasbih of himself. So this is the best way of encountering, the best way of appreciating Allah's perfection. Of course, I cannot do tasbih in the way that angels do. Angels cannot do the tasbih in the way that Allah himself does. There are different levels of tasbih. But everyone must involved in tasbih. If you don't do tasbih, then the other side happens. أَتَجْعَلُ فِيهَا مَنْ يُفْسِدُ فِيهَا وَيَسْفِكُ الدِّمَاءَ وَنَحْنُ نُسَبِّحُ بِحَمْدِكَ وَنُقَدِّسُ لَكَ. Either we are doing tasbih or we are doing mischief. I don't think there is any other option. Either we are remembering Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala by doing good things and saying good things, or at least refraining from doing bad things, or we are doing mischief. There is no other way. So tasbih is such important concept in whole Islamic spirituality. And then we come to this hadith, which is the link between this lecture and inshallah the lecture next week about Hajj. A person asked Imam Sadiq alayhi salam, why Kaaba is cubic? It has 4 corners. It's not like triangle, it's not a circle. Imam Sadiq alayhi salam said, because Kaaba is under Baytul Ma'mur. And the angels evolve. They go around Baytul Ma'mur. They do always tawaf. Perhaps if they were not doing this all the time, if they were not remembering Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala all the time, the whole world will go into disorder. The reason that the world can survive is because of constant remembrance of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala by the angels in Baytul Ma'mur and by the holy people on the earth. في بيوت أذن الله أن ترفع ويذكر فيها اسمه يسبح له فيها بالغدو والآصال رجال لا تلهيهم تجارة ولا بيع عن ذكر الله. If you remove these people from the earth, or you remove the angels from top, from the kingdom of Allah, the whole world would be destroyed. So Imam Sadiq alayhi salam said, Baytul Ma'mur on top of Kaaba has 4 corners. We resemble them. So therefore Kaaba is built like Baytul Ma'mur with 4 corners. Then the same person asked, okay, why does Baytul Ma'mur have 4 corners? So I realized that Kaaba has 4 corners because of Baytul Ma'mur. But please tell me why Baytul Ma'mur has 4 corners? And Imam Sadiq alayhi salam said, because divine throne, Arsh, has 4 pillars. Arsh has 4 pillars. So for every pillar of Arsh, you can imagine a corner in Baytul Ma'mur and a corresponding corner in Kaaba. But what are those 4 pillars? Are these something made of brick or concrete or metal? No. Those are Subhanallah, Alhamdulillah, La ilaha illallah, Allahu Akbar. The whole concept that you should have of Arsh of Allah is built upon these four principles. And if you look carefully to what I said so far, you realize that indeed the whole thing is tasbih. Because this is tasbihat arba'ah. Subhanallah, alhamdulillah, la ilaha illallah, Allahu Akbar. So Hajj is designed by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala as a formal way of remembrance of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. But Hajj cannot happen once in a year without preparation. Hajj must take place in a place in which constantly throughout the year Allah is remembered, as I said at the beginning of lecture. So inshallah next week we explore more this aspect of Hajj to see the connection between Hajj, Kaaba and remembrance of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala enable all of you inshallah to go for Hajj in near future, and inshallah be blessed by having accepted Hajj. And may Allah inshallah make this season of Hajj a very blessed and easy inshallah Hajj for all our brothers and sisters. Wa akhiru da'wana and alhamdulillahi rabbil alamin.